Welcome to Food Talk for Health, because you really are what you eat. Here is your host, Tonia King.
Joining me today on Food Talk for Health is nutrition researcher and New York Times best-selling author, Dr. Neal Barnard. We're talking about the Power Foods Diet, your brand new book. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Tonia?
Good. The Power Foods Diet, as soon as you hear the word diet, people, kind of freak out and think, oh no, another miracle plan to help people lose weight. Your approach is a lot different. And I know we spoke before about the book. And today I'd like to talk a little bit more in detail about some of the chapters in the book and some of your ideas and suggestions. But first off, how about you give us a little bit of a brief summary of the Power Foods Diet?
Sure. People have suspected that certain foods cause weight loss for a long time, but it was a little bit fluky, I have to say. You eat a pomegranate and you'll lose weight and whatever. But in 2015, things really changed because the Harvard research team looked at more than 100,000 people, and they found that with certain specific foods, if you ate more of them, people would, in fact, lose weight. And that was kind of the opposite of what we thought, because you'd have to think if you eat more of anything, you're going to gain weight. But that's not what they found. They found that if you ate certain foods, the more you ate of those foods, the more weight people would lose. And so their list was things like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, a number of green vegetables. Melon was on the list, cantaloupe, watermelon. There was a whole bunch of them. So what we did, my research team, our job is to put these to the test. And what we found is that the power foods have three ways of working. The first thing that they do is that they contain your appetite, so that you're satisfied with less food. You eat, you stop eating. The second thing is that some of these foods trap calories, so you can't absorb them. And the third is that some of them ramp up your metabolism so that you just burn calories a lot faster.
You have one chapter in the book called Foods That Are Less Healthful Than You'd Think. It was surprising at first because you would think salmon, avocados, coconut oil, right? They've all been known to hopefully be good for us. What have you found?
Yeah, well, we've done research in thousands of people. And so we look at different diets, and we've found that there are certain foods that when people eat them, their weight loss just slows down and stops. And salmon is the top of the list. People, and just what you said is right. People think it's got to be good for me. I'll get some wild caught Atlantic salmon and it's got to help me. And then they discover the more they eat of it, the more problems they have with their weight. They're in fact, not only do they not lose weight, they start gaining weight. Well, our team has looked at this, and it's not hard to understand. Atlantic salmon is 40% fat, and Chinook salmon is 52% fat. And the problem is that every fat gram has 9 calories. It's just jammed with fat. So people were picking it because they thought it's a healthy fat.
Right.
It's
omega-3s.
Yeah, exactly. So better for your heart, compared with lard.
Right.
But as far as your waistline goes, it may as well be Vaseline, because you're gonna gain weight with it. I'm sorry to say. And coconut oil, maybe even worse, perhaps, because coconut oil gets marketed so much. It's the natural oil, and it can be natural. But if you look at a jar of coconut oil, it is waxy solid. That means it's not only jammed with calories, but it's jammed with saturated fat, the kind that raises your cholesterol.
But what about olive oil, our favorite olive oil?
You know what? Aren't I a heartbreaker? If you eat an olive has a trace of olive oil and a lot of pulp and fiber and a lot of taste, and it has polyphenols and other healthy things. Okay, so that's great. So have an olive. And if you've got a jar of olives, you might have 5, 6, 7 of them. But to make a jar of olive oil, they'll take 10,000 olives, and they throw away all that fiber and all that pulp, and they concentrate the oil, and it's a healthier fat than beef fat, yes. Healthier fat than chicken fat, yes. But every fat gram, whether it's extra virgin olive oil or 1040 motor oil, has not, yes, don't try this at home. Tattoo this on your arm. Every fat gram has 9 calories. So it can be olive oil, it can be beef fat, chicken fat. It's going to make your weight loss slower. Sorry to say it, but it's true.
But what about the whole Mediterranean diet? Olive oil is such a big part of that.
And that's part of why it doesn't work for weight loss. And this is the most amazing thing. We brought in 62 people in a research study. We randomly assigned half to do a Mediterranean diet. some chicken, some fish, but a lot of vegetables, some olive oil. The other half did a diet with no animal products whatsoever, no salmon, and we kept oils really low. And after 16 weeks, what we found is that the people on the Mediterranean diet really weren't losing weight very well at all. We then switched to the opposite diet. And what we found is once they got the animal products out of their diet, they started losing weight like crazy. So when people do a plant-based diet, that's the best diet for weight loss of all. Except the only thing that I want to emphasize is let's bring in the power foods front and center so that you're maximizing the weight loss potential.
Okay, so now what about somebody that maybe doesn't need to lose weight so much as compared to wanting things like omega-3s and better nutrients in their diet?
Well, if you don't need to lose weight at all, you know what? You're the envy of everybody else who's listening to this podcast. You're all thinking, I want to be you. What's the deal here?
I know.
Okay. Well, first of all, for those people who don't need to lose weight at all, the power foods are not going to make you blow away. So don't worry. They're healthy foods. And this is something that the broccoli manufacturers aren't going to tell you about because they don't have an advertising budget. But if you sent a sprig of broccoli or spinach or almost any other green vegetable to a laboratory, you know what they would tell you?
What?
It doesn't just have iron and calcium and all that healthy stuff, but it's got traces of healthy fats. There are traces of omega-3, not a lot, but proportionally, that broccoli is about 8% fat as a percentage of calories, and a good chunk of that is good fat. So I'm going to cheerlead for the green leafy vegetables that my grandma always hoped we would eat. They're as good as advertised.
Well, that's true. And you can't go wrong with a plant-based diet and, of course, all those green leafy vegetables. And now here's something else that you talk about and that I've heard, how bad dairy can be for us. Eggs, yogurt. Give me the scoop on that. Cheese.
Yeah, well, the dairy comes out of the cow, and it comes out as the number one source of bad fat in the diet, saturated fat. And there is no human requirement for it whatsoever. And even the cow doesn't drink cow's milk. The calf is going to get weaned within a matter of months, and the cow doesn't even drink it anymore. But the problem with dairy is, yes, it has cholesterol in it. Yes, it is the number one source of bad fat. And every fat gram has 9 calories in it. Yeah, it sure does. But then the other main nutrient in cow's milk is sugar. And people don't think about that, but lactose sugar is the number one ingredient. And a lot of people, not only is it a source of sugar, but it's a source of indigestion for a whole lot of people. What has really got researchers' attention, though, lately is estrogens. Cows make estradiol. It gets in the milk, and they're also milked into their next pregnancy. And the estradiol gets into the milk. And there have been 2 studies recently that showed breast cancer being linked to cow's milk products. I think we need more research there, but I, for one, take this seriously. And we are, if you want to splash something on your cereal, use rice milk, almond milk, oat milk, or even soy milk, which recently has been proven to actually help prevent breast cancer. It doesn't increase the risk. It does the opposite. Soy milk is fine, and it's high in protein. So those are all better choices.
The other thing that I found fascinating, you talked about how probiotics really don't help much when you are on an antibiotic for something. Because many times we'd say, oh, eat yogurt if you're on antibiotics. But in reading your book, the digestive tract, it doesn't matter.
You would think that the probiotics are little bacteria, and they're little cultures specially designed to populate your gut with the good bacteria that will help your digestion. And researchers have put this to the test in people who had taken an antibiotic for a urinary infection or something else, knocked out their bacteria. They take the probiotics to try to repopulate it. And you know what happens? A lot of nothing. You turns out that people repopulate their digestive tract more effectively just with the bacteria that they're inhaling or ingesting in day-to-day life, rather than the one that you're buying at the store. So we were surprised by that result, but the research has shown that you're not doing yourself any help with it. So we no longer recommend probiotics at all. We don't use them at all. That said, prebiotics, what that really means is high fiber foods that are kind of the natural soil that bacteria grow in, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
If you're eating vegetables and whole grains and beans, that gives you a healthy gut. And that will support the probiotics that you're bringing in naturally.
Well, it makes sense. Prebiotics, if you're loading your body up with all the good stuff, then if you have to take antibiotics, there you go. You have that pillow, right?
You got it. Or it's like if you're trying to grow cactus, you don't grow cactus in the same soil that you would grow roses in. So if you're eating high fiber foods, the good bacteria do well in there. If you're eating processed cheese and junk and bacon, kind of angry bacteria grow there.
Another interesting chapter in the book, Go for the Max. Let's talk about that because you talk about this 3-week program, how it really can make a difference. Tell us about that.
For people who have a lot of weight to lose, or they've also got a medical condition like diabetes, what I say is take my hand. We're going to jump into the deep end and we are going to cure you as fast as we can and as much as humanly possible. So what we do is we take 7 days, 1 week. And during that time, what I'll ask the person to do is think about entirely plant-based foods they may actually like. So they might say, well, all I have in the morning is a bowl of cornflakes. Say, fine, what do you put on them? Well, I put milk on them or cream. Okay, let's switch to almond milk or soy milk or rice milk. That's plant-based. Okay, that was easy. Fine. But wait a minute. What if I have now, and that's okay, you can do that. Let's say I switch to oatmeal and instead of the cow's milk, maybe I'll put on berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, maybe a little bit of cinnamon on top. Okay, cinnamon is a power food. Cinnamon increases insulin sensitivity and it increases your metabolism. So do the blueberries as well. So now I'm getting more and more powerful foods that will help solve these problems. So I'm going to ask you to take 7 days and just make a list of the foods that you really like that will work for you. And there's lots and lots and lots of them, as you'll see in the Power Foods diet. Then after the 7 days, you got a list. Now we're going to take 3 weeks. And for the next 3 weeks, we're going to eat all plants all the time. We're not going to have any animal products and we're going to keep oils really low. But you can eat as much as you want, and you can eat carbs without limit. Okay. At the end of 3 weeks, 2 things happen. People are physically healthier. They're losing weight, and their blood sugars are coming down, and their digestion is better. But their tastes are now changing toward healthier foods. And then they think, okay, I got the combination. I can take it from here. And once they get that kickstart in, what we discover is they can lose weight. They can take back their health and feel great.
I want to get back to the berries for a minute, though. Wouldn't the berries spike the sugar up in people with like type 2 diabetes?
Almost not at all. They have a really low glycemic index. And what's more, what is really happening is that when a person has type 2 diabetes, the problem they have is insulin resistance. That is caused, let me say this clearly, insulin resistance is caused by the buildup of fat inside your muscle and liver cells. And that's causing your insulin not to work. Nobody with diabetes knows that. They come into our office, we have to explain it. So my job is to get the fat out of your diet so that the fat comes out of your cells, so that your cells are insulin sensitive, your natural insulin will work again. And that's why we have seen diabetes go away.
How exciting. We're talking with Dr. Neal Barnard about the brand new book, The Power Foods Diet. The other cool thing is you also provide recipes in this book, which really helps for people that are trying to maybe get on the 3-week program. Tell me about the recipes. Who did the recipes? Did you come up with them?
Not me. I'm the doctor. I'm the scientist. Lindsay S. Nixon and Dustin Harder did the recipes. And it's everything from our French toast with blueberry syrup topped with cinnamon, for wild blueberry muffins. We've got a veggie lentil soup, which is delicious. We've got great desserts, our blueberry, triple berry sorbet, our blueberry pops that kids adore, our pasta arrabbiata. Yes, you can have pasta on this diet. The foods are delicious.
And I was just going to ask about that, the carbohydrates in pasta, but it sounds like it's an okay thing to eat.
You can bring them back in. People are able to eat carbohydrate again. It's healthy carbs. We're going to help you to get healthy.
So tell me, how does this approach compare to the people that are on Ozempic and Wegovy?
Well, your body will naturally make the GLP-1 that you're injecting with Wegovy. Your body can make it naturally, but certain foods have to trigger it. So once you're able to trigger it, people are much less likely to have to go to the drugstore and get the injectables.
I think it's exciting. Doing the research must just really get you very excited on what you find out and how you can really help people.
Well, it has been, but I want to thank you for allowing me to share this with information, because this information with people who need it. So many people are having trouble, and you really help people to learn what's going to work for them. They can share it with their family and they can get healthy together.
Well, I'm very appreciative of taking some of your time for sure. Dr. Barnard, how can we find out more about all of your exciting work?
Well, thank you. The Power Foods Diet is everywhere books are sold. It's on Amazon and Target and Barnes & Noble and everywhere. And if there's a bookstore that's opening their doors still these days, they'd like your business too. It's the Power Foods Diet.
Thank you so much for your time.
Great talking with you today.
You've been listening to Food Talk for Health with Tonia King. Thanks for joining us. Eat well to be well.
Tune in to our podcast for Food Talk for Health, wherever you get your podcasts from.